Today you can read a book, learn about any subject you can think of, or maybe not think at all and just scroll for a literal endless amount of time. This is a beautifully dark reality that we live in every day. On one hand, there's a limitless potential, but on the other hand, there's a limitless pit. It feels like today we are faced with an immense amount of choices that branch down infinite paths. Why do we choose to even take any? Simply put, there are subtle, insidious ways that you can get trapped by the technology surrounding us. But there are many ways to escape. Let's dive into how the technological landscape is turning people into literal digital zombies, and more importantly, how we can fight back. There are some obvious ways you might waste your day away. The first is through plain and simple consumption. The idea of living your life through someone else, especially online, runs rampant in our culture. This is often discussed in the term parasocial relationship. These are one-sided connections people form with public figures, streamers, or even fictional characters, feeling as though they are literally experiencing their lives. What if I told you you could no longer live your own life and only watch the excitement of others through a screen? It sounds like a hellish prison, does it not? So why then would most individuals do that same behavior? Well, in truth, most people do not realize that they're doing it. It's almost like a low level of hypnosis has taken over your mind. Simply put, nothing can snap you out. If you've ever doom scrolled, you know the exact sensation, coming out of an almost trance-like state. This is because the brain is constantly fighting against boredom. If you've ever just stared at a wall or even tried meditating, you know that doing nothing is a lot harder than it sounds. The brain fights for stimulation, but it is okay to relax. I am not pushing for an unrealistic, hyper-productive person. That is just as unhealthy. Not only that, it's unsustainable. But here is the really scary part. The forms of relaxation we have today are not only unproductive, they're empty. Take video games, for instance. If we were to try to distill their true meaning, we would likely conclude that they are a form of escapism, a way to get away from the boring, mundane, and even harsh realities that some people face. This is why initially parents wanted children to go outside and play. They felt as though their children were becoming hermits of society. Contrary to that belief, we do know today that video games have real-world benefits. But the difference is, escapism now has become even more abstract. Now people watch others escape. Streaming, influencer culture, and reaction videos have turned entertainment into passive consumption. Unlike gaming, which at least involves building a skill or solving challenges, streaming leaves you with nothing but the fleeting excitement of living someone else's life. The brain is just trying to fill a void, but it is filling it with something that offers no real rewards.
I just think it's worth saying, and I've never talked about this really on YouTube, but parasocial relationships can be a bit dangerous, which is why it's worth at least being cognizant that they exist in the first place. And maybe just reevaluating your interests in things, and your real life relationships and all those good things that make your life better. Instead of working on relationships with people that you're never really going to hang out with and that can't care about you. Not just don't, literally cannot. Whether it's me, whether it's Dream, or whether it's Ariana Grande. It scales, but it's all the exact same. Doesn't matter how many times Ariana Grande tweets, "I love you." She doesn't love you. She cannot love you. She will never love you. She only loves the entire group of people who let her do what she loves to do, which isn't the same as loving you.
This could never be me. I do not fall for the obvious tricks that our technocrats created, right? No, it gets everyone. There's an even more pernicious way that people's minds get trapped. It has likely gotten you at some point. It is what I like to call Da Vinci's curse. Leonardo da Vinci was a genius of his time. He was a scientist, engineer, philosopher, and artist. In his time, someone like him was incredibly rare. Knowledge was hard to come by, and mastering multiple fields was a monumental feat. Today we have the digital equivalent of the Library of Alexandria right at our fingertips. You would think this would help us become modern day Renaissance men and women, right? But it often does the opposite. It is all just an illusion. Well, what do I mean by that? Let's say you want to learn piano. You click on one of the countless free courses online. You give it a try for a day, a week, maybe even a month. Then you realize the skills in the video are much harder to grasp than you thought. These individuals spent years developing this knowledge, and they've condensed it into a 10-minute video. So you quit you find a new hobby, and the cycle starts again. The barrier to entry is so low that starting is easy, and quitting is even easier. In the past, that barrier was much harder, and it was often much harder to quit because of the commitment it took. Trying to juggle multiple hobbies often makes them all just fall to the ground. But it's really not just about learning hobbies. It is really about a phenomenon called decision fatigue. Research shows that having too many options, whether that's Netflix shows, social media posts, or potential hobbies, can literally drain your mental and physical energy. When you're faced with endless options, you just default to the easiest one. In this case, the easiest option is decision paralysis.
They're always super present. I remember one of the first days there, I realized I was getting a lot of these like Mr. Miyagi Karate Kid lessons through watching them. Yeah. And they stacked up all these dishes. I was in charge of dishes. I was like the rookie on the team. And they had all these dishes stacked up, like hundreds from a retreat. And I started cleaning the dishes, and I turned to one of the monks and said, I'm never gonna finish all these dishes. And he said, you don't have all these dishes. You only have the one that's in your hand. Yeah. And I realized that my mind, even when I'm at a soccer game, I'm on my to-do list. Yeah. I'm at dinner. I'm like, well, what? I gotta go home and cross things off my to-do list. But they didn't. They didn't have a to-do list. They had a do list. Right. And that's what they were doing.
And they do things one.
So how do we escape this dystopian reality that we've created for ourselves? Well, philosophy can offer some answers. I believe nihilism provides a useful framework. If life has no inherent meaning, it's up to you to create your own. The problem is the internet tries to do that for you. It presents an artificial universe of distractions and convinces you that your purpose is within that. Do not sit idly. The truth is, if you don't take control, you drift aimlessly, letting algorithms decide your own path. Finding a pursuit, following it, and not falling for the distractions is not an easy feat by any means, but you are the master of your destiny. Don't take the easy way out. Don't let your brain trick you into mindless consumption or scatter your focus into infinite hobbies. None of that is rewarding. Choose a singular goal. Stick with it and become a master of one instead of a jack of none. There is a constant war for your attention. Are you willing to fight, or are you just going to give up?